welcome everyone to another episode of Wednesday Night Live. Paul is running a little bit late, but he will be joining us here shortly. We have Matthew Salter who will be joining us tonight to give us some insight on the future of salt nicks, synthetic nicotine. I'll take it back, synthetic nicotine. And Tim has got the latest news and advocacy as always. Let's say hello to Mr. Tim Swift there. The man who has way too much knowledge of Skid Row back cataloged songs.
I don't actually. You know what? I mean, do they really even have that much of a back catalog? I don't know. That might be just how big it really is. I don't know. They have a handful of albums, but I don't know. Things have changed in the music world. They're not quite who they were 35 years ago. So
you're a Beaver fan now.
Beaver? Beaver has a metal band? I didn't know I didn't know Beaver jammed. Oh, okay.
Oh, Beaver, the Canadian superstar.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, Bieber.
That's what I said,
No,
Beaver.
Oh, I thought you said Beaver. Well, I'm a bigger fan of Beavers than I am of Justin Bieber. How about that?
Let's not go there. How's
Other
your week
than
gone, Timmy?
Good. We're getting there. We are now officially over the hump. I think it's all downhill from here until the weekend. So yeah, it's just kind of been business as usual. Nothing too crazy to report.
And Matthew, we know Matthew's been super busy the last week, haven't you, Matthew?
I was hoping to be done with all this, but here we are again.
Yeah.
I could just imagine everyone in the industry that are involved like you are in the industry, that one day where you guys can just, it's done. Everything is finalized. It's finished. You get to sit down, crack open that beer. You don't have to worry about government. You don't have to worry about FDA. You don't have to worry about some congressman, some city councilman, some mayor. Do you look forward to that day, Matthew?
Yes and no. I mean, has the thought crossed my mind that it would be great someday to retire and not have to worry about this anymore, or to finally win the fight and just be accepted for harm reduction? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's like we've kind of grown to thrive in the chaos.
Chaos.
So when we have no chaos, what will we do then?
You could go into like maybe a bottle manufacturer decides they don't want to make 60 ml bottles anymore, and then you go nuts. You just go nuts and go after them.
No, I look forward to the day that the government just leaves us the hell alone, and I can, I want to be put out of business. I really do.
Oh, well, you wouldn't be put out of business. The industry still needs you. It's not like everything's going to get settled down and you're out of work.
In a perfect world, I would be put out of business. But yeah, there will always be something for me to do, unfortunately.
All right, so let's not let it get that far. Let's just Tim, say hello to everybody out there. You're dead. Well, you're still dead. There you go.
I was trying to save you guys from the wiener barking, so they ran off into the other room. So I apologize. So hey, we got Luke in the chat. We got Megan. We got Phil. We got Bill. I saw Bill there a little bit earlier. Did I say Luke? Miles, Stu, Willie. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us tonight. We got Foz here. He changed his screen name. It's a lot of words for one sentence. His screen name is now a full sentence, so I will just leave it to Fa. And I think that's it. So we got the usual crowd here tonight, which is good. Clint, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for joining the show. And I think we're just now waiting on Mr. Blamire.
Say his name. See, I have a hard time saying his last name.
Paul Blamire. I believe it is. XTRM Brazen. What's up, man? How are you?
Yeah, I don't even get close to that. Well, Matthew, let's get started a little bit here. I got a couple questions for you. So I know this is a difficult question for you to answer. But having your knowledge in the industry, how many of these companies will make the 60-day filing for their PTMAs?
Quite a few.
PMTA.
Quite a few, actually. I don't think as many as last time. I'd say maybe 65% of them will from last time. I mean, certainly the strategy is always to inundate the FDA with exactly what they ask us for.
Yeah.
We've seen how well that went last time, to where they still have over 500,000 products that they're still sifting through 2 years later.
Do you think they were prepared for this moment? You think they have that stuff filed and ready to go, or are they going to wait till the last minute?
They're going to wait to the last minute. Some companies were kind of preparing for this. I'll say this. More than nicotine manufacturers who actually make the synthetic nicotine were preparing for this, and they were getting things ready for people to use. Some companies haven't stopped working on their PMTA. They've continually conducted studies. They've continually made sure their products were clean and tested and everything. Some people were just like, oh, shit, we got to do this all over again. Let's go, So it's definitely, there's people all on the end of the spectrum in terms of that we're prepared for this.
Yeah, this is pretty accurate. The timeline that I got today from Twitter, bill signing 30 days, April 14th, 60 days, 120 days, supposedly FDA enforcement, which we know they're not so good at doing anyway. Yeah, I mean, to me, I was assuming that a lot of these companies already had this stuff filed, and I felt like a lot of them were going to go that route with the courts first. Do you see a few of them saying, you know what, we're not going to file these PMTAs. We're just going to go straight to trying to file a complaint and go in the court system?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there's not even on a company level, but on an industry level, that sounds like it's occurring from things I've been told.
Yeah.
There's always things I can't speak on specifically because either I'm not directly a part of it or I've been sworn to secrecy and death. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be massive lawsuits coming because of this, especially from the nicotine market. You got to think, nicotine isn't just used in vaping; they use it in agriculture, and different medications, things of that nature. So this affects those guys too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's directly going after nicotine, and so there's definitely going to be plenty of litigation to go around.
Yeah.
So just delays and more delays then.
Essentially. I mean, so like the 60-day mark where we have to file, that date's going to pretty much stay there, you know? But that 120-day mark, that's going to be missed by a mile and a long shot. There's no way in hell the FDA, I don't care how many call centers they've hired, are going to be able to even process 10 applications by that point in time.
Right.
Considering it took them 4 or 5 years to do anything for Marlboro and Altria to approve theirs, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And they've got one product done, Views. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't try to pull the same crap they did at the beginning and just dump a bunch of them.
Absolutely not, because that is a really funny story. So I got a lovely phone call from the FDA the other day. Funny enough, I was on the porcelain throne, and I'm like, oh, hey, the FDA is calling. What a better time to take this. And it was in regards to an application I had filed 2 years ago, 3 months after the deadline, I might add.
Oh.
And they let me know that, hey, everything was looking good and everything. We're going to go ahead and push that into sub-review. Sub-review, for those who don't know, there's kind of 4 steps to the process. There's acceptance or filing. You filed an application. There's acceptance. We looked at it kind of, and it meets the bare minimum requirements of chapters and whatnot. And then there's substantiated review, where they've determined that it's worth their time to look at. And at that point, that was when they originally did the fatal flaw memo, where they just kicked everybody's out. They don't have this study. Screw them. Go away. Bye. And I said to the guy, I started laughing. I go, it's kind of funny that you're putting this in sub-review, aren't? Isn't in a month you're just going to send me a letter saying it's kicked out anyways? Well, and I said, well, wait a second. Let me ask you a question. Have you guys started with any hardware applications? Because I filed a bunch of those, and I haven't heard from you guys on those. He goes, we're starting to look at them,
Yeah.
And I go, okay, well, does a fatal flaw memo exist for those? He goes, no, they don't. No, there is not. And then come to find out, 2 weeks after all the lawsuits started, they got rid of the fatal flaw memo. So now I'm thinking they actually have to do their jobs, and they actually have to go through the applications and see what's present and what's not. And if things are present, which this time around they certainly will be, everything they're asking for, they're going to be spending some sweet time just going through thousands upon thousands of pages of data.
Right. With the majority of the pod market coming out of China, though, do you see China stepping up, and or do you see them just focusing and moving to other markets outside of the U.S. with most? Well, if you think about it, just about every closed pod system right now that's out there is manufactured in China, and they fall into this I mean, do you see China stepping up and doing PMTAs or doing any of
I
that?
do. I mean, we've seen a lot of China do PMTAs the first go around, and you got to realize America is the largest vaping market in the world.
Right.
I mean, it beats out Dubai and beats out the Middle East, and South America has a massive vapor market.
Right.
And all of these companies, including disposable manufacturers, are doing what it takes to get into those countries. But this will always be the bread and butter for vaping.
Right.
So they have the biggest vested interest in keeping their products on the market, whether it's their devices or the disposables, or they don't want to give up that money just as much as the manufacturers here stateside don't want to give up that money.
Yeah, I've never seen the numbers of sales for pod systems or closed pod systems anywhere else. So, do you have an idea of how large the market is, or how close any of the other countries are to our market as far as closed pod systems?
I don't. I know I know one company, I won't say who they are. They cleared 60 million last year in disposables. Wow. So the money's there, the market's there, and you got to think there's about to be a big market in the UK for disposables.
Right.
Because you can do a 10 milliliter disposable with 20 milligrams of nicotine, and it's going to be perfect. And not to mention, they're starting to accept pharmaceutical applications essentially for vapor products, so they can be handed out in pharmacies and dispensed like medication. So I think the UK would be the next biggest. South America's got a pretty big market, but a lot of them have nic caps,
right,
that you have to kind of be wary of. So I don't think they're as big, or even they may be 30% of what the US market is, but no one comes close.
Yeah. Well, what's because there's a different cap for a freebase than it is for salt nicks, right, in each country?
Yes and no. So, like the UK, they're just one flat 20 milligrams. That's it.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if they had, some stipulation for, salt nicks, you can only have this high, and freebase was here. But their minimum is it's 20, 25 in the UK?
20. That's the max.
20, that's the max, 20, which most of us started with anyway, 18, 24. I started with 18. Tammy, you got something you want to ask, Mr.
I just my concern is though. So this whole timeline with the bill signed 30 days, 60 days, file PMTAs. So they're basically just opening up a new PMTA filing period for just synthetic nicotine. Is that what this is? And then that starts at a year. So that once everybody gets it in by the 60-day time frame, then you get at least a year to keep those products on the market. No,
technically speaking, you have 120 days.
Right.
So that 60 days, as soon as you're done filing, you have another 60 days to remain on the market. Technically speaking, by the end of that, you're supposed to pull your products off the market. However, FDA does get in what's called enforcement discretion that we've seen used with the last PMTA. They can't go after everyone. They don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower. So there's going to be products on the market that are they're all going to technically be illegal.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be a game of whack-a-mole for the FDA.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're going to go after the big dogs first. They're going to go. They just got a. I don't know that I forgot the saying, but they got a thing for Puff Bar right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, Puff Bar was one of the companies who openly came out and said, "Oh, we're switching to synthetic nicotine. We're doing this to circumvent the FDA." And while don't get me wrong, I absolutely love when people look at the FDA and tell them to go fuck themselves. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, but
yes,
fuck.
It's at the same time, it's like you got to be careful with what you say in the world, and you got what you manifest in the world. And we're seeing synthetic nicotine enforcement right now as fast as we did because of those things, because people stood up there and said, fuck the FDA, we're going to synthetic nic. If we would have just shut our mouths and did it, it probably would have been another 2 years before we saw this. But
yeah. I mean, we were just basically, I hate using the word, but it's just, loophole after loophole with this industry. And no, they leave them open for us. We're going to take them, but yeah, the throwing it in your face after it was done was kind of a stupid thing, because it just put them in the spotlight and moved Juul to the side. And it's like everybody all of a sudden was just, fuck Juul. Let's just Puff Bar, go after Puff Bar,
Well, I mean, we just a few weeks ago we saw Juul and the merger with Altria go through. I actually spent months with James Jarvis. We were talking to the FTC about it. They called us and we're like, we know you're experts in the industry.
Yeah.
What do you think about this merger and what is it actually going to do? And we spent months and months and months on the phone with them explaining like Juul's already got 95% of the market share. Juul's already the ones killing us. Like, you pair them up with big tobacco, not that they already weren't, and it is going to be a monopoly to some degree, considering they're the largest vaping product, commercially available.
Right.
But they got approval, so now they can merge, and everybody's hunky-dory over there.
Yeah, they are. Now maybe they can get that market back because they lost a big chunk of their market. I mean, a big.
I don't think unless they revamped their battery and their pods, like they got to revamp the entirety of the product. They've lost so much face with consumers and hell, even the diehard vapors. Like, is it harm reduction? Absolutely. Is it great for getting smokers off cigarettes? Absolutely. Yeah. But it's like tainted now.
Yeah.
Just the name Juul is tainted.
Right.
Yeah. Well, with the merger now, they can change the name.
Possibly. I could see that happening,
Yeah, but if the thing looks the same, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck kind of theory, right? I mean, you could, like Matthew was saying, they literally have to revamp the product. Even if they came back with a different name, I would think you can't make it look exactly the same. Name recognition, right? I mean, you you could change the name of Budweiser, and as long as it, kind of has the same design and look, people are going to be like, yeah, well, it's basically just a Budweiser. They just changed the name.
Altria actually has a bunch of different vapor products in the pipeline.
Yeah.
That they could easily transition Juul to. And I mean, these are high-end, billion-dollar R&D budget products. Like, they've spent some serious money trying to perfect the vaping device for the new consumer. So it's like, it's kind of scary, the shit they got coming out soon.
Yeah. Well, what about that Bloomberg thing we were talking about last week? That whole kind of wean you off the nicotine, kind of set your nic level or gate your nic level on that. I mean, it seems like people are trying to kind of like make it attractive from a functionality perspective. I mean, whatever happened to the Juul 2?
Yeah, right? The Juul 2. I mean, I loved the whole biofencing of schools. I thought that feature was like, you can do that? Let's do that. I'm all about that. Right. But, I mean, I lost my train of thought. It's one of those days. It was literally there. I was ready for a rant and then it went away.
It was right there. Welcome to getting old, Matt.
Yeah, right? I'm 34 years old. I feel like I'm 90.
I think when we talked about the Bloomberg thing, obviously, he's trying to stick that. To me, that's the biggest hypocritical move ever. He's the one that's out here trying to stamp everybody out, yet he's developing that product to bring it to market.
The Hail.
Yeah, the Hail, where, basically, I guess the whole premise is that you can kind of regulate the amount of nicotine that you get and slowly try to wean yourself off. I think the thing that's kind of ironic to me is that, as much as all of us here like to vape, and a good portion of us are probably not using high milligram nic salt stuff. Some to a degree.
The max.
Yeah, to a degree, but not like 50 or 60 or anything like that, like consistently, because we've all pretty much quit smoking already anyway. We don't really need that to sustain us.
Right.
But in the same breath, it's just kind of ironic to me that I think we all kind of started with the intention of using it to get off of smoking and then potentially maybe get to a point where we quit. But I mean, it's not like the industry that we have now isn't about people wanting to switch to a healthier alternative. And then end game is they finally get off of vaping anyway. It's just, I think the ones that get hurt the most are the people like all of us who continue to vape, like never really ever quit. And then but most of us are sustaining on nic levels that are far less significant than anything that really what they talk about on the news and what all this hubbub's about, with trying to, kind of shut vaping down anyway. It seems to me like they're their view is a little myopic. Like they just think that everything that exists out in the world is all high milligram, kid addicting stuff when it's really not. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of that is pandering to their donors and the people who support them. The Pave is a perfect example. Their husbands were lawyers for big tobacco companies. They donated to tobacco politicians.
Right.
All that Bloomberg is where they wanted to gate the nicotine content and trace with your phone like how much you vaped and what nicotine level you vaped and all that. That's literally just setting it up for the pharmaceutical industry to take over, because let's be honest, vaping obviously is one of the greatest inventions of the 21st century, and they recognize that at its core. But they can turn that to be something to keep people addicted, just like they blame us of doing, but at the same time make it seem like a public health win once they finally control it all and say, hey, go to your doctor or call 1-800-QUIT line and go get yourself a vape that, we'll monitor and we'll dose for you. And all you got to do is puff. And people are going to be like, oh, the government cares about me.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that came up in conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and he made it's kind of a good point. But then I kind of think of it as, in a way, like he was talking about the pod systems. He likes the idea of the open system being able to wean yourself down. And his question was to me is, how come the pod systems haven't done that? Why aren't they going from 50 to 25 to 18 or whatever and working your way down and away? And I told him, well, it's not designed for that purpose. That purpose is to get you started. This is a starting point. But he made a good point. Some of these people never make the transition to the open system. I know people, which has shocked me, that's all they have bought for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest difference between open source and closed source. Open source is the only business or industry that tries to get its consumers to put them out of business. I mean, if everybody started vaping, went through the nic levels, got down to 0 milligram and quit nicotine, we'd have no more customers. Right. We'd also have no more smokers.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like pod systems and everything, for years, I advocated for a 0 milligram disposable. I said we should at least have some on the market. It's kind of, it doesn't work. You can't, there's no level of satisfaction anybody can get from a low nicotine disposable to a certain extent. Yeah. Now, there is a product that recently came out. It's called the Mechs. I got one right here. And it's a dual mesh, but it's like 17% regular nicotine, and it's sub-ohm. It's got a 0.7 ohm mesh coil on it.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's a disposable that's sub-ohm, and it doesn't, and it has varying nic strengths, and the flavor's killer, absolutely killer. But this would be a step in that direction. But it's honestly probably 5-10 years we may have a 0 milligram disposable where people actually taste the flavor and get some level of satisfaction out of it.
Right. Well, the problem is you holding that up and you hold up a Juul and or a puff bar. There's a big unique difference in size there.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a majority of these individuals. That's what they want. They want this little pen style device that can just slip into their suit pocket or their pants pocket. And I would love to see a study done, because there are a majority of us smokers that all we need to really see is that smoke to make that transition to quit. I would love for someone to actually do a study with a zero pod system with no nicotine and just see if that works. Because I mean, there's some of us that's all it would take is just having that repetition, hand them out.
I do think, though, you'd have to throw into that equation, it would have to be somebody who's absolutely driven on wanting to get that completely out of their life. I mean, for me, and I mean, I'm not trying to justify the things that I do, but I've always sort of enjoyed some kind of a vice in my life, as long as it's not something too detrimental. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't drink a ton. Like, I'm more of a social drinker than I am just sort of like an everyday kind of drinker. Like, I don't come home and have a beer after work. I don't sit here and crack a bottle of wine and have a couple glasses and go sit on the couch and then, watch the news and fall asleep kind of thing. So for me, drinking has always sort of been a social vice. It just seems to go hand in hand with the situation. With vaping, on the other hand, initially when I started with the blue, absolutely the first thought on my mind was I got to quit these cigarettes, and like nothing has ever really kind of done the trick. And then vaping came around, but unfortunately I struggled with the devices that were available at the time. Like the blue just didn't cut it. It wasn't enough, or it just wasn't real. And I think I see where you're going, John, in that there's some relevancy there. Like you need the the vapor or the smoke or whatever you want to call it, or the fidgety hand issue, where it's like you have to have something there. But I still feel like if somebody was to go from, say, smoking to just saying, okay, I'm gonna just puff on this 0 milligram nicotine device just to and have some success, I don't know that the numbers would be that high unless that person was absolutely like, okay, I'm done. I just need to get away from this crap, period, right now. I need to quit it. Because if you don't have that nicotine relevancy for someone who was a smoker going into vaping, I don't think it would be successful at all, because the nicotine was always present. It's an element of it that your body kind of craves.
And Ricky, I don't know. Is there anything else they could add that's more addicting than nicotine?
So, can I take this one?
Yeah, go.
This first part of the question: anybody test the liquid and closed systems? Absolutely. I've personally helped companies conduct HPHC testing, stability testing, and microbial testing on disposables. I'm even doing it as we speak. 9 times out of 10, they all come back with non-detectable quantities of anything harmful. So heavy metals, arsenic, formaldehyde, any of those. And actually, funny enough, a high nic disposable, technically speaking, is better for you than a 3 milligram open source 100-watt device.
Right.
For one simple reason. With this device, you are inhaling less particulates than you are with this device. Right. So anything that does actually occur within the liquid itself or the disposable itself is at a much lower quantity. I call bullshit, but the science is there to prove it, so I'm just that asshole. If Big Tobacco had control, don't you think they'd add something to make it more addictive like they did with cigs? It's already been done, and it's been done by Saltnik. Yeah. Saltnik, it was introduced by adding benzoic acid to the actual nicotine mixture, and what that does is it increases the titration rate of the nicotine into your bloodstream and makes it less throat harsh. So we literally, as an industry, did do something. The Big Tobacco didn't have to do a damn thing. We just borrowed out of their playbook to make a more satisfactory nicotine at the expense of it does have more addictive properties. So yeah, we do shoot ourselves in the foot quite a bit.
Oh man, I lost my bumper. I was going to throw out that science bumper on that one for you after you finished. I can't find it. That was Brian's, right? I think that was Brian's little
what?
Anytime we brought up science, you remember we said,
oh yeah, it was the fuck you science thing.
Fuck you science.
I mean, Big Tobacco would probably try to do something to keep you addicted to whatever product it was that they were pushing. But I think sometimes people exploit it too. Like, and I say it all the time. Sure, you could probably give a kid a 60 milligram Juul pod, and he's just going to be, that at some point that's not going to be enough for him because he's trying to exploit the system to get the buzz, right? So, I'm not saying that flavors don't make it a little bit more appealing to a kid to want to have it around. But I mean, I remember watching videos on YouTube where the kids are like literally taking styrofoam cups and cutting like notches in them so they could put multiple Juuls in the styrofoam cup. So it looks like they got Sputnik up to their face. and they're teaching each other how to like first hyperventilate, like take like 7 or 8 really deep breaths, and then take this massive pull on this Juul contraption that they've made. Yeah. And I think at that point, it's pretty obvious that, they're not really using it for any one purpose other than to just get a rush. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's like when we were kids and we'd grab a 5-gallon bucket in the bathtub and make a fucking gravity bong. Like, I mean, yeah, we could have just smoked a joint and gotten our rocks off, but no, we had to take it to the extreme.
Of course we did. Yeah, I remember doing those plenty. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This
Keep
is
telling my
awesome.
wife I can't wait for the day the kids start to dabble because I'm gonna learn them something.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, to Ricky's point, though, I think if you were really kind of to whittle it down to what big tobacco kind of has their hands, I think they've already done that. I mean, with the 50 and the 60 milligram stuff, you know, the one pack a day guy probably doesn't even need the 50 milligram jewel pod.
No.
He probably only needs a 24, maybe a 36 if he's kind of an anxious smoker or used to running out and having smoke breaks. So I think they already put the addicting component in it at the level that it's sitting at. And so don't get me wrong when I say that I think that the 50 milligram stuff is needed for particular people to get started with, but not as an absolution, because you're probably not going to find anybody that goes from smoking cigarettes to using a Juul at 50 milligram and then just magically quits. They're gonna keep coming back because they have that little easy peasy lemon squeezy Juul pod hanging around. They can just keep puffing on it and getting that 50 milligram Nick Rush.
Is that what you want me to put up there, Bill? He sent me a link. I think this is a link.
Bill Tarling did.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I didn't intentionally avoid this article as part of the reporting. He sends me things all the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't do this one. So yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. And I think this is what Matthew was talking about earlier.
Right. I think
Yep.
Matthew, yeah, he brought that up. Let me take that down there real quick. Yeah, I mean, kids, we were all kids. I mean, even back when I was in, we tried different things, to, hate saying the word, to get high. I mean, I mean, it's not going to ever stop. I mean, they could take e-cigarettes away right now or pod systems away completely. They'll just move on to something else. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I won't even, Tim knows, we did some pretty freaking stupid shit in the 80s, man, to get high. I mean, we did some crazy shit.
Yeah, we had all kinds
back
of
in allspice.
Yeah. I mean, we had all kinds of dumb stuff around to try to catch a buzz, or you'd hear people try this or try that. But I mean, the mainstays they will always remain. Like, I mean, I remember being a teen and sneak drinking with my friends and stuff. Like we weren't sitting there drinking that liquor because we just loved the taste. Yeah. We all hated it. We all hated how it fucking tasted, but we had one goal in mind. Let's just get as fucked up as we can and then go walk around at 2, 3 in the morning acting like we're cool or something, like we're getting away with murder, but we were laughing and giggling and the whole nine. So, I mean, nothing
tastes better at 2:30 in the morning than a 7-Eleven hot dog and a Slurpee.
No, we didn't do that.
We did the whole Denny's thing.
No.
Denny's too. Yeah, Denny's too. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where else to go with this. I mean, everything seems to just, they snuck it in there, and now everything is, come to an head. And I just felt like some companies were, this is just me, but it just felt like some companies were trying to figure out another loophole.
Hey, Brian.
Another loophole. Did you get a sense of that? Did you get a sense that some company was like, okay, let's relook at this? Because it seems like anytime something passes, that's the first thing we do. We instead of trying to figure out, how we can fight this or beat this, it seems like they have to read the legislation and try to figure out a loophole around whatever.
I mean, that's just that's the beast right there. I mean, yeah, that's happening right now. People are looking for a loophole. People found a loophole already.
Yeah,
but it just has to work and come to market. And that was one of those things. Like I know things that I was told I'd be dead if I spoke about.
Yeah.
But yeah,
somebody give Matthew a shot of Jack Daniels so he starts talking.
At the end of the last PMTA, people were looking for the next loophole.
Yeah.
And that's what the government needs to realize.
Yeah.
We'll stop looking for loopholes. We'll stop circumventing your regulations as soon as you actually sit down at the table with us, give us some clear, concise direction, hear us out, and let us self-govern. We don't care. Actually, you know what? We don't even care if the FDA has jurisdiction over us. make sensible regulations. Let us have some input. Let us freely market and keep kids from vaping, but give adult smokers a chance to be able to have something healthier to switch to.
Yeah,
But that's not the American way, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, we're not the only industry that does this. I mean, there's lots of other industries that have done the same thing. But I don't. They don't get the spotlight like we do. I mean, they'll go and get their way, and it'll take the government or the FDA or whatever they're involved in some time, but they're not getting news articles. They're not getting, in Facebook feeds. They're not in newspaper ads and, kids this, kids that, and it's just, it doesn't seem like. It just seems like every time we get like an inch, we lose a mile.
Absolutely. And perfect case in point, actually, the supplement industry. They're regulated by the FDA, but the FDA doesn't do anything with them. They just allow them to market freely. And I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the world of TikTok. However, there was the whole dry scooping trend of pre-workout or, dry scooping some pre-workout and chasing it with an entire energy drink being shotgunned.
Yeah.
And I thought for certain we'd see something in the news about that. Mothers across America going after the pre-workout industry. Nothing. Not a peep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, is the difference there the kids?
No, I think the difference there is that we directly affect massive corporations' pocketbooks, whereas the supplement industry just kind of exists without an evil overlord.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't see kids, running to the black market or asking their uncle to buy them some fat burner.
Right. Hey, give me some of those stackers, please.
Hey, did you see what you could do with that new fat burner?
It's like hanging out in front of the convenience store. Can you give me some of the Spanish fly?
I need that 100 milligrams of, fat burner or the protein shake. I can't get my hands on that protein shake.
I think that's the trick with kids, though, right? Like they just want to move on to the next thing that people hype up.
Yeah.
Which I think, if vaping to some degree lost its some essence of appeal with kids and it wasn't as interesting anymore, they would forget about it. But I feel like even though the numbers don't suggest that as many kids are vaping and smoking, the smoking rates are going down, the vaping rates have dropped over the last couple of years. I feel like the more they put the focus on it and keep talking about it and keep kind of tabooing, that's not even a word, but they create it or make it like a taboo, then the kids are like, ooh, well, I got to have that. I mean, relative case, I mean, when the PMRC showed up in town and wanted to put warning labels on all of our albums and stuff like that, I mean, who didn't want to go buy an album that had a parent warning on it? Because it had to say something that you shouldn't be. Yeah. So, I mean, it's all relative in the sense that the more they continue to hype this up, the more that they continue to make it a thing, then you probably will always have quote unquote teen epidemic or a youth epidemic because the kids are like, oh, I'm not supposed to have that. I want it now.
Yeah.
So you sensationalize it that way. And I think that could also be part of the problem because I don't feel like we had the kid problem as much, until it really started kind of becoming newsworthy shit to talk about,
Well, back when we had C4 tanks and rayon fiber, it was like that was way too difficult for kids to fucking figure out.
Yeah. And then you had the same people that will turn on a dime and talk negatively about vaping now were ones that were endorsing it. Yeah. That were almost kind of exalting it,
Well, if you remember in the beginning, before the kids, they were attacking batteries and they were attacking other issues and the battery thing made me laugh because that market was so small, the mech mod market at that time. And there wasn't a lot of people that were running around with mech mods back then like they are today. I mean, today's mech market is probably a lot higher than it was 10 years ago. When you think? Yeah.
I think it's gone down a lot in the last few years.
Oh, it's gone down. Yeah, it's gone down.
But I mean, the versus initially, mechs were huge. I mean, it was a more unadulterated way of vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember when everybody was pushing mechs and talking about mechs and, and kind of lifting them up to this, sort of godly sort of level. I mean, of course, I think most people tried them just to see what they were all about, but I just don't think that they had the same sort of level of popularity, after a while. It was like people wanted to go back to something that was convenient, easy to use, regulated, slap the batteries in it and just push a button so you could adjust how high, how much wattage you wanted, or the vape.
Yeah, you didn't need a calculator.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's why disposables took off like the way that they did, and I think that that's why the market's the way that it is now. Is that it's all about being as user friendly as possible, and even to this day, you try to. It's hard, when you're trying to help somebody, and you're in a group and somebody's messaging and they're saying, "Hey, I'm a vapor, but I finally convinced my dad to finally put the cigarettes down and try vaping, and I, obviously I can't let him have mine, but like, what's a good device, to help get him off of smoking, and I would never, the first comments I usually see in those posts are, oh, get him the fucking smoke, mag and this Crown 3 tank, and I mean, that's what worked for me, and I'm like, but that's what worked for you. That's what someone put in your hand. Like, you can't. I don't think the last conversation you want to have is that one. I'm like, just get them like a small, like a Caliburn or something like that. Where they can fill it on their own. They just put the pot in there and then they basically press a button or pull and they're done. And see how that goes. See, find a combination in that form factor that works. And then once they find a flavor that they like and their nic level is relevant, then I think you're going to have a higher success rate.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
Yeah. No, you're right, Nick. I mean, it is. I mean, you never hear anybody complaining in the media. And I think for a while there, I thought it was, well, because they just don't understand it. Did you ever feel that way, Matt? That they never went into that complaining about the open system? Because I think in the beginning, they didn't understand how that whole system worked. They didn't understand wicking, right. They didn't understand coil making, they didn't understand these tanks and building.
Even if they did understand it, they knew that argument would fail based upon price point and user knowledge that was needed. Yeah. No, they never gave a shit about open systems. I mean, not the closest they ever came was the marketing on e-liquid.
E-liquid, yeah.
Once they saw that, then they never attacked hardware. Hell, the FDA doesn't even give a shit about hardware.
Yeah.
Still to this day, they don't care about hardware.
Yeah, I mean, even with the hardware side, I mean, it would be virtually impossible for them to even stop that market from coming into the U.S.
Right. Look how Mechs were found. People started modding flashlights. Can't stop it, man. Like, it's not going to happen.
And that's what I like, with Nick. I mean, I like the way Nick does his proposals with these senators and congressmen and city councilmen, explaining to them how the open system works. And I think we need to get back to that and let people understand that this is available. This is what a majority of us are really using that are in this market. I don't know what it's going to take, but I mean, that's what it seems.
But didn't they have sort of a switch though? Wasn't some of the earlier regulation proposal is to go after the closed systems and then leave the open systems alone? And then they seemed to reverse that. And then they started going after the open systems first.
They reversed it because of things like Blue and Mark 10 and Juul and all those, because Big Tobacco had a vested interest in disposable or closed systems with cartridges.
Right.
They want Big Tobacco to have those available for smokers. That's why they approved the Views. It doesn't work, but if that's the only thing on the market, people are going to use it. And the hopes of maybe this will work and I can quit smoking and live a healthier lifestyle, but it's a piece of shit.
Right.
Yeah. Their big issue with our products is they work.
Yeah.
We have been twice as successful, if not 100 times more successful than any of the NRT products on the market. And they hate that.
Yeah, I saw who posted that the other day. We had him on our show, Tim, the doctor that wrote the book.
Colin Mendelsohn.
Yeah, Mendelsohn. He posted something the other day that showed worldwide 87 million vapors. Is that number? Huge. Is that number's accurate?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, he said he was saying that the number has grown. Well, to that 80 88 point something million people that were vaping worldwide. That number's grown. So, it's proving itself to be an effective method
Yeah.
for getting people away from cigarettes. And I
So,
get it. It's a threat to the tobacco companies because it's compromising their products that they want to keep out on the market. So yeah, they're going to come after us, but there's
so
got to be an epiphany somewhere
yeah,
hidden in the silver lining, right?
yeah. So let me ask you, Matthew, where are these fucking 87 million people?
Not here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, the UK's got a massive vaping scene. South America, funny enough, Dubai, I think vaping is illegal, but it's a massive market for vaping.
Right.
It's just hilarious. And I mean,
Do you think smokers are just all about me, me, me? Because that's what it comes to make us look like when it comes to advocacy. It's just like, okay, there's 11 million vapors in the United States. That was the number for a while. I don't know if it's higher or lower now, but we can't get more than 5,000-6,000 of them to show up anywhere.
yeah, I mean, that's
Are we
humans in
that
general.
selfish? Are we that self-centered that it's just about me, me, me?
I think that's more of a societal issue if people are just fucking lazy. Yeah, honest to God, people will fight for anything they really care about.
Right.
But unless it affects more than 5% of their day-to-day life, they're not going to lift a muscle to do anything to change it.
Right.
The simple fact that we got 5,000 people to DC, holy shit. That's like parting the Red Sea to me.
Yeah.
And do I ever think that we would have like a 1,000,000-man march? No.
No.
Right.
We would never get that lucky.
Unless there was a giveaway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Giveaway.
Yeah. Team free shit.
Like if Candy King gave away their company.
Yeah, if you show up to Washington, you'll get a free device.
$10 million to a winner who shows
All of a
up.
sudden-
Yeah, you
all
might
of
get a
a sudden
couple
we have
thousand people.
350,000 people show up to Washington because they're going to get a free device. Oh man!
But there's a question from Bill. He said, if closed systems hadn't been available years ago, do you think our open systems wouldn't be under so many attacks?
Since most gas stores. Okay, so for the longest time, I was staunchly opposed to C stores carrying any form of vapor products. I felt that I still do to a degree that it was that's how kids are getting a hold of their vapes, right? They're not walking into vape shops because most vape shop owners are responsible. They do ID, especially nowadays with us being under so much scrutiny. However, I think the closed systems that existed years ago, things like Mark 10 and Blue, were honest to God trying to get people to quit smoking. I think their intent was pure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the dawn of Juul, and hell, even Puff Bar, they have skewed that original purity to be more about gaining new customers at the entry cost of addiction. So I agree that vaping shouldn't be in C stores, shouldn't be in gas stations. It should be to specialty retail locations only, much like alcohol is in 90% of the United States.
Yeah.
It blows my mind in Florida that I can go to Walmart and buy a bottle of fucking wine or, and beer or whatever.
Well, I'm the opposite, man. When I was in Washington, I was pissed off that I couldn't buy any Jack Daniels at Save Mart. I was like,
they have drive-through liquor stores here. They'll pop the top for you in a brown paper bag. I'm sitting there going, what?
Yeah, but before 7 o'clock over there. I
Still, like how many people die from drunk driving every year, and you're actively condoning it for me? What is wrong with you people? But yet I can't vape. Fuck you.
In Texas, you get a free handgun with every purchase of Jack Daniels.
Well, Stu, to that, I'm sure there's always going to be a handful of shops that don't play by the rules and are looking more for the sale than they care about the law. And it's places like that sort of give everybody else a bad name. But at the same time, they'll probably get busted eventually. They're going to get caught. I don't, it's a shame to me that there are vape shops that would conduct their business that way and just sort of snuff their nose up at the whole idea that it is an adult regulated industry. I mean, it's an adult industry, and it's not for kids, But then again, nothing's ever perfect. In a perfect world, everybody would. But I can't think of any liquor stores that don't ask me for 14 forms of ID if I go in there and try to buy out a bottle. You know what I mean?
I mean,
But
my beard is pretty gray, and I know that there are some people that have gray hair in high school. But dude, when you're asking me for a friggin' ID to buy a 6-pack, I'm just kind of looking at the guy going, dude, I got grandkids as older than you, man. Come on.
Right? Like if I'm in Walmart buying groceries and I have one of my daughters with me,
Yeah, it's
I
automatic.
can't buy wine or beer.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they'll be like, we need to see your ID. She's fucking 10.
Yeah.
Clearly she's 10. You know, I'm not giving it to her. Don't care. Can't buy it.
Yeah. That's the way it is here. That's why I don't go to the grocery store with my grandkids, because it'd be just ridiculous.
They did have lower neck.
Well, they had 24, I believe. I think
like
Blue
24,
was
I think
24.
they had 18.
Something to that degree, right? But you never saw Blue come out and like counter that product either. You know, there wasn't like they were like, okay, we got this 18, but if you really need your nicotine, we got this 35, and when we got this 52. So I'm not saying that. I think I kind of understand what Matthew was saying in that regard. Is that it was an opportunity for a company to offer a product over the counter that for people that were looking to quit had an option. Everyone's always had that option, right? It's not like, to me, vaping is an anomaly. Because on one hand, you got the whole argument where it's like, hey, you know what? You can use this thing and get a similar experience, and in the end, it's a lot less harmful for you, and then you could continue to use it, and it's still less harmful over time. And then you've got the other side of that coin where it's like people are struggling because they want to quit, and they can't, as hard as they try, as many different components that they are put in front of them, whether it's NRTs or therapy or hypnosis or any of those, down to Wellbutrin for that matter, and they still can't get away from cigarettes, whether it's the stress of their life, because I think for a lot of people, and I've known a lot of people that just went cold turkey with smoking.
Yeah.
And then they'd prance around, and then, and they'd be like, oh, 6 months, no smoking, and then one bad thing happens in their life, like a family member dies or they lose their job or something like that. And then boom, they're like, you'll see them at the bar and they got a cigarette in their hand. And they're
don't forget,
yeah, man, I'm not smoking as much as I used to, but it's just so much going on and I need that stress relief. But, it's still those people that really, I think, ultimately want to quit. So I do think that, like, in the early days when Blue and Views and those things were kind of there, I do think that there was some intention to give people an alternative just to smoking, whether they wanted to quit or not.
Yeah. When Blue came out, I mean, I don't remember them ever, saying this is something that's going to help you quit.
No,
I just remember it as being about getting you off of cigarettes, and it's just like, this is a better, safer alternative.
It's like that the Jenny McCarthy commercial they had, where it was like, it's a new way to smoke, and they were doing it in clubs and bars and whatever, and
they
were getting away with it too. It's vapor, man. It's vapor. It's not smoke.
Well, but I think back then we had more luxury to kind of like throw out the blasé kind of like lingo about it, where it's like this is totally safe. It's totally safe. I mean, we couldn't really say that convincingly.
We didn't have the market that we have today. I mean, back then too, and I think that's why, like we always talk about on this show, I always bring it up. I mean, I had relatives. I remember the day, like it was yesterday, the first time that the Donahue show had the people from Blue on his show, Phil Donahue. And I remember that day getting phone calls from every single friggin' relative of mine. You got to try this. You got to try this. You got to try this. This looks amazing. It's going to work. It's the next greatest thing. We went from that to, it's got formaldehyde. It's going to kill you. It's going to give you impotence. You're going to lose your fucking hair. An arm's going to fall off. Your toenails are going to turn green. It just makes me laugh with it. We've gone that far off to where I had every single relative calling me saying, you got to buy this. Head on to Walgreens. I got them over there. It's like $45 for the kit. You get it's going to get you to quit smoking, which it did. I started with blue. I think Tim started with blue as well. I mean, it was the one device that made me quit. And I remember seeing that first cardio device at a bar, and it was a guy, and I didn't buy it right away because back then, well, after I talked to him, he was like, yeah, this cost me like $185. And to me, that was more money than I wanted to spend on saving my life back then. But
yeah, they were definitely never marketed to quit. Just like I quit with a Mark 10, and my whole thing was I had pneumonia at the time. I couldn't stomach a cigarette. Told my wife, go buy me one of those shitty e-cig things. I thought it was just a replacement.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I quit smoking,
right,
and didn't realize it.
And what did they have back then? They had cherry, tobacco, menthol.
I think I have a picture of the View system, and it was pretty much garbage. Let me see if I can find that picture.
That was it, right? They had back then. Blue had cherry, menthol, tobacco, and was there one other flavor they had?
There was like a mixed berry.
A mixed berry.
And that was like the worst one out of all of them.
Yeah, it was.
To answer Thoby's question, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. No, it would absolutely be illegal to name a vape shop in the U.S. to quit shop, because that would be making a health claim, and we are not allowed to do that.
Yeah. You can't call it the quit shop. I mean, do you think that shops would go that route, like the alcohol would, open up a federal owned tobacco only vape shop where it's federally regulated to where you
only if cigarettes were put in there as well.
If cigarettes were put in there as well,
it only makes the one side.
Well,
bigger.
you could put them in the back. That's what they do to us anyway. I've gone into those fucking those hybrid stores that sell bongs and all that stuff, and you literally have to walk all the way to the back end of the store in the far left corner of the shop where there's e-liquid and actual vape hardware.
I mean, that's the thing. Like ABC stores in states like North Carolina and Virginia, they are die-hard ID company. They have to be because they're government owned.
Right.
So I think if it were to ever come down to the point where it had to be government owned, but like say you could open a franchise under the government or whatever, it would be regulated to the point where, people would do it because it would destroy the narrative that kids could buy it.
Vanilla. That's what's the other flavor. It was vanilla.
Yeah. So here,
that's old school.
This is 2013. This is after the blue.
Yeah.
And I bought the V2 system. They had 18 milligram coffee, 24 milligram menthol. Here was your Marlboro Red comparison. Your 24 V2 Red. You had, I forget, this was probably garbage. Congress 18, that's probably just a tobacco flavor.
Yeah.
Peppermint 24 and another tobacco flavor, Sahara 18. So if there were any other options, I didn't pick them because they didn't look all that appetizing.
What did that cake cost you? $3,000.
You know what? Looking back on it now, I really don't remember. I remember the kit came with, I think the kit had these 3 flavors. You could pick 3 different flavor packs. The V2 bottles down here, those were separate because here's the blank Cardos that came with it right down here. And then you got the 2 batteries, and that was the kit.
That was the kit.
Yeah, and you couldn't adjust those. They were just rechargeables.
Yeah, I bet it was about $200. It
probably was somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Yeah, $200. Yeah, the blues lasted me a long time. I enjoyed it. It did help me quit smoking. And when I found it's funny because I live in a rural area in Modesto out here in the Central Valley. I didn't have a lot of the only other vape wasn't even a vape shop. It was one of those carts in the mall.
I remember seeing those everywhere.
Massively popular.
Yeah,
the kiosks.
Vape shop. And the first device that I bought that wasn't the blue, you'll laugh, but it was made by Zigzag.
Yep.
And it was their
Haas Vapor Pen.
Yeah, and
That was what I went to after a Mark 10. That
you
fucking
took
grape was killer.
that thing was a brick house. You
Came with
couldn't
a
break
fucking
that thing.
necklace and everything. Oh, that thing was
You
great.
couldn't break that thing. I
Nope.
washed that son of a bitch in the fucking washing machine. It went in the dryer. It still fired back up. I mean,
Yeah, you could literally wash it, let the cotton dry out, and be good as new.
and their juice, because that was the juice. I mean, I forget, did their juice? I think their juice was in like 5 or 10 milliliter bottles.
Yep.
It was like $15.99 back
And they had
then.
like grape and cherry and fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
they had some pretty decent flavors, and then I've realized, okay, someone said, hey, you go to the mall, there's a little cart guy that's out there and he's got e-liquid, and I went over there and Cutwood, who else was out in there? He had a couple of different lines. The guys in the green bottle, I think.
Space Jam.
It might have been Space Jam. I can't remember. But he was selling 15 mil bottles for $21.99.
God, I'm just thinking about that.
It's like the $30 30 mil.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And back then, that lasted me a long time, because we were using mouth to lung devices, so that 15 mil bottle actually lasted me quite some time. But I was just like shocked that I just spent 23, 24, $25 after tax on this 15 mil bottle, and then Switch the Vapor opened up here in Modesto, and that was the first time I was introduced to the e-liquid bar, where I went down and sat down and had the book, and they had like 500 different recipes on there, and you kind of went through the book trying to find what you thought would be good, and then they had their little sample bar there with every single flavor under the sun that they made, and even those guys were. I think a 30 mil there was $16.99 at that little shop. And then I found ZampleBox, and ZampleBox was godsend for me, because I didn't feel comfortable going in that vape shop. Everybody in that shop at that time was 18 years older, 18, 19, 20. And I just didn't feel comfortable being in there trying to get my juice. And when I found ZampleBox, I was like, okay, I can pick my flavors. It'll come right to my house. I don't have to see these kids. I don't have to stand in line. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't think the vape shop experience was something for everyone. I even felt a little intimidated about going in there, because I always felt like I was below the curve, like I didn't know enough. Like I'm gonna walk into this shop full of experts, and I'm gonna feel dumb because I don't know much about it yet. I'm still kind of learning and trying to get. So I mean, I heavily relied on online, kind of that funnel, especially when it came to flavors. And I think that was where monetarily it was a bust for me, because try watching, e-liquid reviews on YouTube. You think every flavor that ever hit the market was the best thing since sliced bread, and then you'd get that $20 30 mil bottle, and it would taste like fucking trash. And then you'd be like, holy crap, I can't believe I did it again. But man, the review, and they were like, oh, you on the inhale, you get the taste of the so and such notes, and then on the exhale, you get the orange, the citrus component, and then right on the final back end of that, you get the whatever. And I'm like, I cannot wait to have this jawbreaker, of a vape experience. And then I would get it, and it would never taste like that. Never ever taste like that.
Remember what everybody used to tell you right after you complained? You need to steep it. Take it and put it in some
exactly.
water.
There was always the flavor, prep expert.
Scientist. Everybody was a scientist. Oh, you got to open the lid, leave the lid open, let it breathe for about 30 minutes, then close it back up, put it in a dark place. I mean, it was just like, okay, dude, really?
But it never dawned on me. It took so much time for me to really kind of realize that, that in the end, it really is subjective. I mean, it might not be the same experience from one person to the next. I mean, a perfect example, and like a more recent one, I think that I always thought was kind of interesting to hear people's opinions on it, is the Jam Monster peanut butter and jelly stuff, like the strawberry and the grape. Like when it came out, I'm like, ooh, that looks good, because I hadn't had anything with like a peanut butter in it in a long while, and I always did like Jam Monster, but I got it, and for me, there was far less peanut butter and the toast kind of flavor to it, and I thought the fruit overrode that significantly for me. But then other people would get it and they're like, I don't, all I get is the peanut butter and the toast, and so I don't like it. And I'm like, that's so weird that just we have two completely different subjective palates, and that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. I mean, Matthew, I know I brought this up before, and everybody said they don't think it was the biggest part of the reason why we are where we are today. But do you think the sub-ohm tank had a lot to do with why we're at where we're at today?
In terms of scrutiny, or
Yeah, scrutiny.
no.
You don't think so?
Only on the optics side, because obviously when you're out in public with a sub-ohm tank, you're blowing massive clouds. That's going to put a lot of people off, and it's going to give them the wrong connotation of like what vaping is.
Yeah.
It's very much like you guys were just saying. You're afraid to walk into vape shops, or you didn't feel comfortable walking into vape shops. And the cloud chaser scene, while that community was integral to the growth of vaping,
right,
it segregated a big portion of the older demographic in the market to where, 65-year-old Ethel, who was a 30-year smoker, wanted to quit. She's not about to walk into a vape shop when there's 18-year-old kids blowing clouds and there's music bumping and loud as shit and there's black lights going and everything. They're not going to walk into that, but they will walk into a convenience store, see that Juul on the shelf, and go, you know what? I think I could quit smoking with that. And that's one place where disposables do beat, thankfully we don't have that issue anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss the cloud chasing scene. Don't get me wrong. I miss the community that vape shops brought. But there was definitely a toxic part of that culture that hindered us from being able to grow the market the way we needed to. Nowadays, pretty much every vape shop you walk into is going to be pretty friendly.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're not selling RDAs. They're not selling really sub-ohm tanks. And if they do, it's part of a kit. And, it's become commonplace now. But I think that it hurt the optics a bit.
Yeah. But do you think that vape shops, I mean, and we no, he was asking about Matthew's hoodie. Tom wants to know where you got the hoodie.
My mother-in-law actually bought this for me at Buc-ee's.
I had Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is the greatest place on earth, if you don't know.
I've heard about it. I heard about like they got their own snacks and stuff that people go eat.
Dude, walls of jerky, barbecue grills, seasonings. You can buy home decor there. There's 3,000 types of drinks. There's 120 gas pumps at every store. Yeah. It is the Mecca of the South.
Yeah. I don't know of one in my local area. I've never actually seen one, but I have heard of Buc-ee's. Well, my question was about vape shops in general. Here's Paul. Paulie's in the house. Australia in the house. No, my question was about vape shops. Do you think, in general, this is to anybody who wants to answer the question, because so we talk about how to a lot of people in the earlier days, vape shops seemed rather intimidating, and they were intimidating to me. I'm not going to lie. And I do think that they've gone through their amalgams, and we get opinions all the time from people who say, oh, well, I own a vape shop and I try to help everybody that I can. Okay, well, you're probably the exception to the rule. Do you think with all the regulation and all the changes that have gone on in the industry and the fact that vape shops aren't selling mech mods and RDAs and prepping coils and doing all that, do you think that any of the attitude in the vape shops have changed to where people are a little bit more focused on actually trying to help a smoker quit, or do you think it's still now it's just the next amalgam? It's like instead of walking in being trying to be sold some mech mod that you can blow massive clouds with, that they're just trying to talk somebody into that regulated device that's can do something similar.
I think it's absolutely helped. I think nowadays you are going to have way more shops that are aware of what's going on with regulation and the FDA versus shops that are completely blind to anything. And by proxy, because of that, the distributors who sell products know what's going on. The manufacturers of the product who make the products know what's going on. And that information is going to trickle down to the shops who are purchasing those products. So I think I would go as far as saying 90% of shops have smartened up, and their focus is now on getting the new smoker converted or helping people who have quit smoking maintain that status.
Right.
You know, obviously every store in the United States now sells massive amounts of disposables.
Yeah.
Just simply because that's what the market is right now, and that's what's keeping their doors open. But at the same time, they're also helping smokers quit, so it's a win-win.
Yeah. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
G'day, guys. Sorry, I was just looking for my bug spray. Apparently, we've got this in our liquids now in Australia.
Looks like furniture polish.
Is it coming to flavor? Does it come in a flavor?
Orange citrus, I bet.
It comes in poison flavor.
Poison flavor.
Yeah, no, this one's got the best one yet. This one's called Kill and Protect.
So after it kills whatever it's intended to kill, it continues to protect you.
Yeah.
From the dead bug that you just killed.
You should spray that on your skin.
Well, I'm not going to talk about it at length, but watch out this summer. We get the parachuting spiders coming in this year. So.
Well, get back to the sub-ohm thing. The one thing that I think that this, because when I was talking to my buddy about this, the one thing I think that the sub-ohm tank did, though, was kind of screw up the whole weaning off of nicotine. I think it all of a sudden, guys like me at that stage, I was still kind of at that higher level of nicotine. I was having a hard time finding it. I was having a hard time finding 12, 18, 24, because the whole market was just flooded with 3 and 6s for a long time to satisfy.
I agree, and I think it's mostly because the generational differences.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, you're not that old, but men of your generation were typically heavier smokers than men of my generation. So when we came into the market, you guys were utilizing 24 and 36 to quit. We could get by with 18, 12, and very quickly we were down to 6 and 3.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, with innovation, the sub-ohm tank really did kill the higher nic market. But I mean, look how we've come full circle.
The problem was the shops were selling the sub-ohm tanks to the newer vapor. So I mean, I've been in that ZampleBox community page for a long time, since day one. And what I had noticed was, like, everyone that was coming in that was new, the first thing we would always ask them is, what nic level did you get started with? And all of a sudden I started seeing 3 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking them, the next question that always came up was, how much juice are you vaping a week or a day? And I was starting to see, 24, 30. I go through a 30 ml bottle a day. I'm like,
I'll say this, though. I think sub-ohm tanks helped people stay quit more than like something like a CE4 did.
Yeah.
Because you have to acknowledge the flavor component.
right.
And when sub-ohm vaping came out, the flavor that opened up into people's, taste buds was far different than what a CE4 tank could provide.
Yeah.
I know for me, like, I started with a cartridge, went to a CE4 tank, and went to a sub-ohm.
Yeah.
When I hit sub-ohm, it was mind-blowing
Yeah.
that I could get my nicotine fix and it could taste this damn good.
Yeah.
It wasn't that nasty tobacco flavor or menthol flavor that I was used to. Yeah. CE4 was like, oh, this is neat. This is, it does taste a little good, and, I'm still getting my nick. And sub-ohms. And then once I hit an RDA, it was another just mindgasm.
Yeah.
My first set of alien coils.
Yeah.
I just want a reason to be mad
vapor,
at Aspire and Kanger. That's all.
Hey, you can't hate on product innovation.
The problem is also that some of the liquid manufacturers at that time, when sub-ohm really took off, and you can thank UL for that with the Crown, like the original Crown 1. Okay, they were the true innovators to go below the 1 ohm barrier. Mm-hmm. Second to that, you had Kanga. Third to that, you then started seeing
the Smoke Dynasty.
Yeah, true. But in doing that, what they did is, it was also the liquid makers, they saw, okay, so now we have to modify the liquids to work in these tanks. That's why 3 and 6 milligram. I still vape, like, even in a RDA, I'll still vape, between 9 and 12 milligrams. I don't care.
God damn, you got balls, man.
Australia's just built different.
Look, it's not an issue. But and also then you had the race to the bottom in liquid prices, and then you also had the race to the bottom in how low you could actually build.
Yeah,
that became a huge thing. Yeah. RDA technology and rebuildable technology in 2015 and 2016. Well, 2015 when you all released the Crown 1, 2016, and you started seeing RTAs being manufactured by different companies, then it was Flavortown for the people that really knew what the hell they were doing. That's what it was all about. Everyone was chasing flavor. So what if it was 3 milligrams, right? It didn't matter at that stage. Liquid. Oh yeah, I know. Everything will kill you here. It's not a problem. Our government's working on that quite comfortably. All by themselves.
Yeah, the government has passed up the most dangerous thing there in Australia.
Unbelievable. But those 2 years, 2015 and 2016, that was the turning point for the industry. Yeah. 2016, 2017, you started seeing very refined MTL devices coming out. Very, very good quality stuff that was being manufactured, mostly in Europe, right? One of those companies is still around and still, to this day, one of the best RTAs on the market, and that's Modesto, like the K-Fun.
Yeah, the K-Fun.
The K-Fun series. I'm sorry, hands down.
You get a high-end K-Fun? Oh, man, you were in the money.
Oh, yeah. The other company that has been innovating recently, the last 2 years, is Aspire, with what they've been doing and their collaborations between Adamazoo, who makes the, where is it? Adamazoo, Sunbox, people like that. And then you had the GT4, like the GT series, and that collaboration as well. That's one company. And then you saw, believe it or not, you saw a very small Chinese manufacturer being Oromar with the Wasp Nano, the first budget single coil that was an absolute flavor monster. You stuck a little drip tip in it and stuck it on a squonker, and for very little money, you had flavor, very good flavor, and a device that didn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, $12, man. I paid $12 for that RDA when it first came out.
Yeah. And now people are, with what's going on in the world, especially United States, Australia, and Canada for that matter, if you don't know how to make your own liquid and you don't know how to build, you got problems. Simple as that. If everything goes pear-shaped and you don't have that skill set, you got a problem. Big problem.
Here's my baller system right there, man.
Hell yeah.
Well, I think we all had that.
There's your zigzag juice, Matthew.
Yep. I love that grape, man. If I could get that grape in a 3 right now, I'd do it all day.
But I was that manufactured in China? Had to have been manufactured in China.
All that shit was.
It was either China or Malaysia. Malaysia's made juice for a number of years.
Yeah.
Not very good juice, but they've made juice for a number of years.
Well, China, you've still got two very large concentrate manufacturers, and for the most part, you've got most of these disposables are coming from one like flavor house. That's why they all taste exactly the same. That's the silly part about it. You've got a few innovators in the disposable market now, but very few. Very, very few.
Well, right. Well, that's the biggest question, though, right? I mean, like you say, I mean, if we've got a problem, if we can't do that kind of stuff, how are we going to get the thing that most of us want in our e-liquid anyway? Right there, flavor aside, where how do you get that taken care of?
Oh, that's the tough part.
It's plausible that they'll do that, but yeah, it'd be fucked.
Because I think that's the one component that people some people need.
Well, it's now becoming apparent that nicotine has more benefits.
Yeah.
And our industry has been innovating technology for the last 10 years. Simple as that. You know, we went and modified the different salts that are now available. We came out with variations of synthetics, and there's not one or two synthetics on the market. There's quite a number of them now. Flavor technology in the past 3 years is just astronomical. The quality of flavors that are available. But I'll say this again and again and again. He who controls the spice controls the universe, the spice being the nicotine.
Yeah.
They've always wanted to control the nicotine molecule. That's always been their end game. It's got nothing to do with the fucking kids. It's, we want that because we know that it has health benefits. And,
right, but isn't there a bit of a double standard with that going on? Because if you're going to remove vapor from the space because of the falsehoods that follow that around, but you're going to allow cigarettes to remain on the market. Cigarettes require nicotine, so someone's going to be able to get nicotine. You can't just let only the tobacco companies be the ones that are allowed to have nicotine.
No, the farmers been playing a very long, dark game, and you have a couple of big pharmaceutical companies or chemical manufacturers that have been supplying the base products to the tobacco industry for years and years and years.
Right.
It's also been the innovation of the vaping industry in nicotine technology that now the pharmaceutical industry has gone, oh, hang on, we didn't think of that. We didn't think about going down that pathway.
But
they're seeing the benefit.
But right, no, and I don't disagree with you, right? Because that means that in the medical space, nicotine is going to be a necessity. But I mean, then you're talking about it being medicinally regulated and only available to doctors and physicians and people who can actually prescribe it. But then you've got the cigarette industry who requires it, which is not going to be medicinally regulated. It's going to be a sin type engagement for most people that want to smoke. So what I guess my point is that you get beyond that. Do you think that nicotine gets to the point where it's going to require a person who to buy it is going to have a specialized, say, license in order to get it? Kind of like, coolant, like when I think Freon, like the average consumer couldn't buy Freon, you had to have a specialized license in order to acquire it. I think that's what if it's to go anywhere, I'm seeing it go that way, right? Like vaping will still be available on the commercial market, whether it's flavors are minimized more and it's only tobacco flavors, but nicotine still has to be there, and I think it'll only be manufacturers that have a specific license that are allowed to acquire it.
Well, they're testing the waters here, and that's what the whole prescription model was all about. 100%. Right. You need a prescription to obtain nicotine here in Australia. That's a test. Australia, I call it the petri dish, because they test things here and then they roll it out across the country or across the world, for that matter. There was chatter coming out of a couple of different states in the US that the senators were looking at a prescription model for them, and we just said, you're completely out of control if you go down that pathway. All you're doing is creating a massive black market, and we've seen it now, tenfold.
Yeah.
like what was coming into the country, and now we're seeing 100 times the amount of disposables coming into the country. And yes, you do see kids running around with them. I'm sick of it. We did all the groundwork for all these years and all the advocacy and everything else behind the scenes. And then all these little, but yes, we all were crafty little bastards when we were younger. There's no two ways on that one. But now, where do we go from here? I really hope that we can get rid of the prescription model, but after what's come out in the last 24 hours here in Australia, they just want to decimate the industry here completely. We have a health minister, the New South Wales health minister, who is an absolute turkey, and coming out stating that don't worry, the 500 flavors of antifreeze. And I went, oh, you have to be fucking joking. You have to be joking. The misinformation, they bring in the prescription model to curb what was going on originally here, and it didn't work. It backfired horrendously here in Australia, and we're watching that openly now. Let's just hope it doesn't get any worse.
Right.
But they want to control the nicotine. They always have.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope.
Wait, I don't know what to say anymore. I've been in meetings I haven't really slept. I've been in meetings for the last 24 hours with people from all over the world asking for help to how can we overturn what they're doing here? It's stupid.
Good question. That's a great question.
Look at that setup.
And 20 watts. Oh, dear.
Whoa.
Doubled as a power bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They did too. Oh, wow. Inican was at the forefront of a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say that thing is still being used today by some other vapor. It's changed hands about 6 times. I used it until I didn't need it anymore. Gave it to my cousin. He gave it to somebody. It's like on his 5th or 6th different person. It doesn't have quite the battery life it used to, but it's still being used.
I still think the greatest innovation of vapor that I've ever seen is the Inican. I can't remember what it was called. It was an Inican product, but it plugged into the cigarette lighter of your car to power. Yeah. And then I had like the twisty telephone cord that came out with the little fucking 510.
That's
I found 2 in a vape shop we bought a long time ago, and I was like, oh, these are fucking killer.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't this take off?
I had a V2 put one out, and it was the same concept, but not plugged into the car lighter. It plugged in via USB plug on the side of your computer.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
And I literally all day long, I had constant battery power, and I just would refill the cardo and just vape on it. I think I got a picture of that somewhere, too.
Yeah, I think it was, I forget whose channel it was. It might have been Mark Fagan's channel, but he had a device that was from Germany that was a desktop model. And it had the power bank, and he had the cable that ran right to it. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, that's sweet.
Like the original fucking Apple of vape.
Oh, yeah. There's been some, we one of these shows we should just go through the whole, Tim, just go through the whole innovation of vaping from the first devices all the way to where we're at today. I think it'd be a fun show just to see all those.
Yeah, I could go upstairs in my attic and drag out some of my old shit.
The Bluetooth speaker mods.
Yeah,
I was like, this is innovation we don't need, people.
Yeah. And people raved about the quality of sound that was coming out of that little speaker.
Shockingly, they were pretty loud. They had good quality. I was a little amazed.
And it worked underwater.
One innovation that I wish they really would have pushed forward with was the Soundwave mod.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that where you use sound vibrations in order to vaporize the
I do remember that. I
remember seeing that, and I got a chance to try one. I'm like, the concept of this is absolutely perfect if they could just perfect it and make it stronger.
Yeah.
Well, there's a company now that's working on it's very similar. It's a sonic device.
Yeah, I saw that.
It works on sonics, and apparently it's actually a pod system. And the people I know that have tried it and it's the first one I've actually seen to have a strawberry cream.
Yeah.
And they said the flavor is on point, and I went,
They're gonna
"Whoa!"
They're gonna put the cotton industry out of business, man.
Yeah, that's it. Ultrasound devices. That's the other one.
Device.
Yeah.
I was always wondering if somebody was ever going to come up with a device that would work without cotton. I just thought if someone could, that would be.
I thought they had the ceramic disc thing.
You still need cotton though.
They have those, and then there's a German company that use steel braided wire.
Braided.
That it literally it's an RTA and it just sucks it up and vaporizes it, and there's no cotton or anything.
No cotton.
I can't pronounce the name. It's like a Grummenfeld or something.
Yeah. Well, I think Vape came out with theirs too. That's similar to that with the steel rods down the middle of it.
Yeah.
They have
the Broom. No, that's the Broomhill. I know which one.
Broomhill. There you go. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's but cable's been around for a long time as a wicking device.
Yeah.
And I still remember sitting there rolling up fucking mesh. Oh,
I remember seeing videos on that.
oh.
Yeah, I remember that.
You look like a dope dealer because you had a little torch to flame up the mesh and stuff like this.
Yeah.
You think you're putting together a crack pipe setup, but yeah, that was a bit out of control. There it is, Broomhill.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's basically a true RDTA though.
Yeah.
Because you got the RDA sitting on top that still has wick and a coil in it, and then the braided wires just are a wicking system to pull the liquid up into the tank. That you're not actually vaping off the wire.
Yeah.
No, there is another version in Germany, and it doesn't have any cotton at all.
Yeah, I think I've seen it on Todd's channel in the shed. In the shed.
That just goes to show you, like, with America, how heavily restricted we are on innovation. Like, look at what the world's doing with vaping. It's amazing to me.
Yep.
That's why vaping will never truthfully die, because you can't ban it in every single country across the world. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
they could try, but.
Well, and some countries are having a change of heart about it too, as well. So I mean, you makes you wonder why that some of those countries are, switching up their policies, whereas we just seem to keep going further down the wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. The innovation coming out of the US, it got stifled. Go back a few years when you had some very, very high-end mod makers.
Yeah.
They're all now gone.
Yeah.
You had a cut. Oh man.
Yeah.
Still to this day, the Pravari is still one of the best mods I think ever created. That and a K-Fun, and you were set.
Yeah.
I've got a couple Pravaris on my shelf that I break out when I want to be fancy. That's my pinky up with a nice glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
Like when I take meetings with senators and stuff, that's what I bring.
Right.
Show them 350 battery. It's just tiny, small.
Yeah.
Phil's the Vape 4000.
The legal Vape 4000. That means we can blame Phil for cloud chasing.
Yeah.
He started cloud chasing with that.
I think we all have something in a drawer somewhere, Shannon, that we've never used. We have it, but we just haven't used it.
Yeah, I have one that our company sent me years and years ago to take pictures of, and I looked at it at first. I was like, "Oh, this is weird," and I said, "Well, I'm not going to take any pictures of it until I try it out and see if I like it." And it was the RDA that had the dome on the top of the coils. It had like a little umbrella on top of the coil.
I remember that.
Yeah, for the splashback.
Yeah.
And the fucking flavor was horrible.
Reminds me of like the turbo RDA with a fucking fan in it.
Yeah, I remember
made a
that.
kazoo noise every time you vaped it.
Yeah.
God, that drove me nuts. We were in a vape shop and there must have been 13 or 14 of them at the same time going, and it just sounded like a fucking sea of kazoos.
That would have been great to sample. Actually, that would have been hilarious.
Well, I remember thinking we were all sitting there building on it, like, yeah, that fan's gonna produce so much more vapor, and then it was like nothing.
Yeah.
Total letdown.
All you could hear was the Addy.
You end up cutting the fucking fan out because it just gets annoying after a while.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, that's what made vaping so fun for me and helped me quit, is because I got to tinker with my stuff. You know, I got to personalize it to my own liking. You know, when colors started coming out, that was like, okay, everybody was trying to get matchy. And then it was the drip tip phase. The drip tips took off. Everybody fucking buying drip tips. And I remember the first time I bought my most expensive one, and after I got it and I had it in my hand, I was thinking to myself, I just paid $21 for a drip tip.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of money that I've spent on shit. Like what was the company that made the indestructible Pyrex tank thing? I can't remember their name, but they had like demo videos you could go on YouTube, and they were these. It was like a glassamizer. You know, you would buy like the glass tank, like the outer cylinder, and then you had the top and the bottom section that were just sort of like grommeted, you know, press fits, and then you would get like the old school fucking 510 Cardos, you know, the ones, you know, just the bridgeless Addies, you know, you'd buy those, and then that would be your Addy inside the tank. So then you could fill the tank full of juice around that. And then, you know, but they marketed it on the idea that it was like the most indestructible tank ever. And the video is the guy like in his garage at home, like throwing the friggin' thing at the wall as hard as he possibly could, and it wouldn't break. Yeah. I still have it.
You can't forget about the RTA that you could put multiple flavors in too. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah, kind of like that different colored ink pen everybody had to have with the 4 different plungers on it. So you'd have blue, red,
They're actually doing that with hemp now, where it's a 2-stage device. You can have a sativa on one side and an indica on the other side. I think it's fucking brilliant. I vape one side to stay awake, and I take the other side to go to sleep. Perfect.
That gives a whole new meaning to wake and bake.
Right.
Wake and bake.
Just don't fuck up and vape the wrong side. Yeah. You go to sleep at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing for me. I mean, that's what it was for me. And building helped me, you know, big time, you know, especially at night. Because once I learned to start building coils, and I've noticed that my worst time for me when I first started vaping was at night. I really had a hard time not wanting a cigarette at night. When I started building, I filled a whole mason jar up in like a week. I just kept making coils and throwing them in the mason jar.
It's therapeutic.
Throw them in the mason jar. And I mean, that was the thing. I think the collecting part, I don't know, that kind of got out of hand. You know, I when you were starting to buy the same RDA in different colors, and you were just like, well, why don't they just sell the cap? You know, why do I have to buy the whole RDA? You know, just sell me the cap.
Wait, somebody just popped in the group. So can I bring this comment up? Well, just for congratulations first. Yo, bro, congratulations, man. Yeah. Started on 50 and hadn't any cravings for a 6. So so you can comment in the chat. Just want to follow what you say. Like, what's your plan? What's your plan? You're on 50 now. You're off of the cigarettes. Do you have intentions of trying to work your way down on the Nick strength level? We don't know what you're using. We don't know the device that you started with. I'm just going to assume it's a pod type device with 50 milligram. I don't know what they sold you or what you bought. Definitely hooked on vaping. Well, that's not a bad thing. Yeah. But like, do you have intentions of like trying to get down from 50 to 36 to 24 and work your way down? You can just answer. I'll keep my eye on the chat. I was just curious. Yeah, because there's somebody that's newer to vaping than probably the greater majority of us here.
Yeah, I'm going to get that guy back for you on the show, Paul. The wire art guy that we had a couple years ago from Germany. That guy's stuff is just unfreaking believable. Can you remember his name? Tim, do you remember his name?
Who are we talking about?
I remember that guy I had on the show, on the Wednesday Night Live show, that was the coil builder from Germany.
I don't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he was the guy that made the alien.
Out of wire, a real alien out of.
Yeah, but they weren't usable coils. These were just he did like coil art is more like what he did.
Yeah.
And he would make all this scale stuff. He tried to make one coil that like was modeled after the M134, the Anakin M-Taste 134, kind of had the Gatling gun barrel on it. He made the alien. It was funny. He actually like put cotton in its mouth and stuff like that. But these weren't viable coils that you could actually put on a device. It was really more for his own entertainment and enjoyment and just to create art and stuff like that. But yeah, super cool guy. I want to say his name was Daniel or something like that.
Yeah, I'll find him.
I have him on Insta. He's one of my friends on Instagram, but I haven't seen him post much art stuff. He was also really into like parkour and stuff. Remember, he did like parkour. He did parkour in his apartment. And I'm like, man, your neighbors are gonna kill you. He's like doing flips off the walls and shit in his apartment in Germany.
Crazy. But I also like when they were mixing the different metals and then flaming them to get the colors, and then the photography. The photography was just beyond comprehension. Yeah, stuff like this.
That's not him, though.
That's him.
But
that's him.
Is that?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's.
Alien. I've heard of this dude.
He is unfriggin' believable. I want to see
what the hell?
The alien's in there. If you keep going, you'll find the alien eventually.
What? Wow.
Yeah, but none of that's usable though, right? That's not.
No,
some of them are, yes, but very few of the extravagant ones are usable coils.
That is nuts. What the?
Yeah, what does right?
But he does have the alien. There's the M134 right there. Look at that.
Jesus.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I'm like, what do you have, like the monopoly on wire in Germany or something? Like you must buy out every wire supplier. No, man, like that probably takes like 1,000 spools to make.
Every guy in the vape shop gets crazy. Comes in to buy wire because there's none left.
If they ever ban hardware, this guy can make a killing.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah. But keep going, keep scrolling, John. The alien's in there.
Yeah, hold on. Look at this. Look at the detail, though.
Yeah.
Fucking coil.
It's got inner barrels. Look at it. It's the outer inners.
What?
Yeah. But keep going. You'll hit the alien eventually.
Unbelievable.
He did feature it in a handful of pictures. Yeah. He does really cool stuff. Look at that.
Some of the braid work's beautiful.
Yeah.
Those are the types of coils you wouldn't need any cotton to vape off of.
Yeah, no. Just
so many flavor pockets.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think he even said that like half of them aren't even functional. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Wow.
I can't believe we haven't hit the alien yet.
He could always work in jewelry making as well with some of this stuff. Unbelievable.
Yeah. You won't mistake the alien when you see it.
Yeah. And he was fucking hilarious. Look at that.
Yeah, he's really good. There's a bonsai tree. Look at the bonsai tree.
Look at that shit.
What?
And it's mounted on a mech mod. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. And he is in Germany, so he was on at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, he was wide awake. He's 20-something years old. We were like, "What are you on, bro?" He's like, "Nothing." Just high on life, man.
He was slamming Red Bulls. Like he said, he had like 5 or 6 Red Bulls to stay up to be on the show. And I was like,
I'm shocked we haven't hit the alien yet. This is crazy.
This is unbelievable. Some of this work.
Yeah. Oh wait, was that it?
No, not yet. It's getting there, I think. God damn, dude.
Some of these braids are just.
You could see how tight his weaves are and stuff. It's insane. Come on, where are you?
And the photography as well.
Yeah, he said he didn't really put a whole lot of effort into that. It was really just lighting in his apartment, like almost like on a gray day, no sun. He took like none of those pictures were taken under like high-end photography lighting or specific. Wow, I cannot believe you haven't hit the alien yet. I wonder if he took him down. He might have taken him down.
No. He would. There's no way he takes that picture down because that thing was just insane.
No,
I don't know, man. I think he would have hit it by now.
Yeah, I don't know. He might.
I think he might have taken it down.
Why would he take that picture down? That thing was amazing.
I don't know. I mean, because he does like basic. He does stand.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's not there.
It's gone. It's not there anymore, unless you just zoomed right by it and missed it altogether.
No way we missed that thing.
He had several pictures of it.
Yeah, he had several pictures.
But it literally, it looked like the alien monster, and it had the jaws and everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
What? It looked like Giga's Alien.
Yeah, like from the movie.
Yeah, from the movie, dude.
What?
Yeah, it was insane.
It had to have been. Then it had to have been higher up. I can't believe that we completely missed it.
Yeah, it looked just like the alien from the movie Alien.
Yeah, he said he kind of just did it as like kind of a gaggy kind of thing.
And he had a motorcycle. Remember the one he did that was a motorcycle?
Yeah. He had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he had a Harley motorcycle.
I wonder. Well, there's no way he got hit with intellectual property problems on that. I mean, he made it on his own. I mean, that was his own create. He wasn't selling it or anything like that.
Yeah, he might have pulled.
Unless he got offered a shitload of money.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, shit.
Somebody might. There it is, right there. There you go.
No way.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
6 by 0.5 SS, 2 by 0.3, 3 by 0.15, 36 by 0.1, 2 by what the?
Yeah. As I said, he has
holy shit.
He's got shares in Sandvik. He'd have to.
You want to hit that?
There you go. There's a sideways picture of it. No, not that. That's the one you just showed. That one. Yeah. Yeah. See, it even has like the extended head on it, and it's mounted on an RDA. That's the coolest part. It's actually mounted on an RDA. And he said he just stuck the cotton in the mouth of it just to kind of make it look cool.
Yeah, I got to get him back on. I'll get him back on the show.
Yeah, super cool dude. Really cool guy. Very nice.
Some of these blades, though, they're just...
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
What the...
That takes
it's all stainless as well.
Yeah, take me about 6 months to make that.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I did my own today. I did actually a 24 with a Clapton coil, 24 with 38 gauge today. That's what I did today. And I tried to film it. I still don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I tried to film it and it didn't come out good. I'm trying to get that all dialed in and trying to figure out how, I have a micro lens. I wasn't able to get in tight enough to do it. But I'm gonna do my. There you go. And that's the best I could get it to go. And
Can't you manually adjust the focus? Why are you worried about autofocus?
I did.
Oh, well.
It wouldn't.
Back to the drawing board.
I had to have something white underneath it to get it to focus on that wire. But yeah, I did my first coil today. It's been a long time, man, and it came out.
Liana, I'll find you the guy's name on Instagram. You can scroll through his stuff.
No, I want to buy wire and start building again.
I'll just post it.
Right yeah, just here. put his handle in the chat there.
Yeah, there you go. And that link will take it. But
Talion, yeah, that's him, Talion.
But it came out pretty decent. Let's see if I can get that in the shot. I got some good. See if I hold something up, my hand behind it, it'll kind of focus on it. I got nice tight wrap on there for my first time in a long fucking time doing it. So that's not too bad. And I'm vaping that right now.
Very nice.
I don't build anymore. I'm spoiled.
I just buy pre-mades now.
Yeah, I could taste the difference. How's that? From a pre-made to the one I just made today, and I put it in this Hell Vape Solo, a single coil, and it came out to what did it come out to? 5.4. It's pretty
That's
good
all right.
vape. Pretty good vape. So Matthew, real quick, what do you see happening in 120 days?
120 days, I see another mass, few million PMTAs being filed. I see the FDA being absolutely inundated by both applications and lawsuits again. I see enforcement discretion. I see your favorite product still on the shelves at retail vapor facilities here in the United States. I see Congress with their panties in a bunch.
Yep.
I see PAVE getting fucking pissed off and screaming at the top of their lungs like Karens.
Yeah.
I see not a whole lot of shit changing, to be honest with you.
What about the new FDA commissioner?
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, FDA commissioner, he's kind of a douche. He was an FDA commissioner before.
Yeah.
CTP director, because Mr. Mitch Zeller is leaving at the end of this month, from what we've been told. They don't have a replacement for him. So, and CTP is the enforcement arm of the FDA, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
They send warning letters and bitch. Nobody wants that job at all. Mitch Zeller's been doing it for 20, 30 years. Nobody wants to step into that field and even try and go up against us, plain and simply put.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't want to. Is that a position that has to be approved through Congress, or?
Yeah, that's an appointed position. It's not a voted for position.
Yeah. So not too many people want to deal with that, digging into your history from the day you were an adult or whatever, 18 and up. I think they go from when they start background checking all those people. Everybody said something or has done something wrong.
Shit, my records were sealed when I was 18. Maybe I should apply.
Yeah, go for it. Hey, man, you'll get in there.
Could you imagine? I'd be fired the same day.
Fired the same day.
One of them would start talking. It's like, shut up. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Hey, that's why I'm not a politician.
I'm going to do a quick Twitter shout out, guys. And today's Twitter shout out is John, come on, John.
He's in the chat.
He is in the chat. He's actually in the chat. It's Canadian Vapor TCL, guys. Head on over there if you're not following him. Head on over there and give him a follow. The Twitter shout out is anybody that's out there on Twitter that's not big and famous, that's got thousands and thousands of followers. These are individuals that are working every day to promote advocacy, and these are the people that we should be following. So head on over there and give him a follow. He's in the chat, right?
He's there.
Yeah, he's
Canadian Vape 09 _ TCL.
That is it. I will put it in the chat so you can follow it. Copy, paste. Anything else you guys want to shout out before we head on out of here?
Just keep on vaping, man. Keep on fighting. Can I mention one component of advocacy for the week since we didn't get to the news? Yeah. So I wanted to talk real quick, and because this one I just felt as though it was important. So just communicate to your friends. There is a House bill right now that is passed the House, and it's getting ready to go to the Senate in Hawaii. It's House Bill 1570, which is a ban of sales of safer nicotine products and flavors other than tobacco. So they're talking about a flavor ban in Hawaii. There's a hearing scheduled for March 18th. That's this week, kids, in 2 days. You can either join by video conference or you can attend in a conference room. And just know the bill has already passed the House committee. So if you want to get your voice heard and you know of people that live in Hawaii, or you live in Hawaii, do we have any people from Hawaii? I don't know.
I want to live in Hawaii.
I don't know. Well, the only thing I can ever think about when it comes to Hawaii and vaping is I think of e-Ciggity. I think of the vape distributor there. I bought stuff from them multiple times over the years. Always been a really good, solid company. But they're fighting down there. So if you have any way of supporting them or getting the news over to them, they may not know. They may know. Who? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to point that out that it's coming up, and I didn't want to have to report on that next week, and it's already it's already done and gone.
Is that something?
Sorry. LavaBox was also from Hawaii.
LavaBox. Yeah, I got a couple LavaBox mods that. Actually, that was my first. It was a 21700 mech mod. I think it was. No. Not 21700.
No.
What was this? It was the big 2600s. Remember the big?
26650s.
Yeah, the Terra. I forget what this was called.
Wow.
Yeah, I still remember this mod. The button stuck. Don't work no more. Good luck finding a button for that. Anything else, Paul? You want to jump in there with something? You got any international news?
Well, just what's coming out of China. I don't know if you guys went over that, but the exports must comply with destination rules for vaping now. That's another one that's just appeared in the last 24 hours. That's whatever's made in China. China State Tobacco Monopoly Administration, or the STMA. Regulations for e-cigarettes are strict. The country will begin enforcing the license management for e-cigarette production, wholesale and retail entities starting from May. That's not a fun one. So China's going to get a little bit out of control, and now they have to go back through and be recertified as a manufacturer and things like that. This is only parts of what's going on. And then Australia, the facts about vaping, New South Wales Health, they need to be thrown under the bus because they're just completely and utterly out of control now. You know, apparently we've got weed killer, insect killer, acetone, and now disinfectant in our vape liquids.
But can you still get a hard on? Can you still get a hard on in Australia if you vape?
I don't know. But it's ridiculous. They've gone young people, parents and carers, teachers and schools, and health professionals. It's broken down into, I'll put it into the private chat and you can put this out there for everyone to see how absolutely stupid this is. It's unbelievable. And 3 alternate uses for nail polish remover. And they're saying that we're now using acetone in our liquids as well. That's the other one. Yeah. Oh, no, that's actually the New South Wales Health Minister, Brad Hazard. But the Australian Health Minister, or the head of health in Australia, Greg Hunt, he's not contesting the next election. So he's gone. Bye-bye. Good riddance, actually.
You should run for that position, Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd last 5 seconds.
We need to have somebody inside. We need to get people inside. That's what we need right now, man.
I'm sorry, but I dropped the C word in the first 5 seconds.
Isn't that normal, though, there?
It depends on the context.
I thought it was just like normal like buck for us. I thought that was like the big word there. I mean, you just walked around saying that to everybody.
Oh, I just walk around with a T-shirt on saying shit fuckery and just walk through all the different departments and just fucking deal with them.
See, I thought everybody said cunt, and I thought everybody drank Foster's there.
Oh.
So,
those big fighting words.
I mean, that's what we and Tim thought. I mean, I thought cunt and Foster's. You're muted. I said that, Tim. You're muted.
No,
You can't respond.
That's like Australian racism, I think.
Tim, can't hear you, Tim. Can't hear you.
I said no. I'm like the whole Foster's joke should be absolutely banned from being able to be used anymore. More banned more than the nicotine should.
The nicotine.
Yeah.
Nicotine.
Oh, yeah, dickhead. Yeah, I'd be in there. It'd take me all of 5 seconds. First one, you're a dickhead. You're a cunt. You're a fucking idiot. Get the fuck out of my office.
Yeah.
I'll be gone.
Yeah. Then you throw a Foster's at their head.
Yeah. Use them as weapons.
Yeah, look, You know, I'm being a good boy now. I've got a cherub on my beer. You know, I've got a little creature.
He's
I felt
angelic.
like
He's
you guys all
angelic.
walked around with the
Kids
six
might be into
all
that.
day long, drinking your Fosters, and at lunchtime you guys were all, shrimp on the Barbie and we love you, Paul. You know that.
All right.
Matthew, anything else you want to get out there before we head on out of here?
Just honest to God, the same thing I say at the close of all of these shows. Keep supporting your local vape shops. Keep buying from your manufacturers. Talk to your politicians. Don't give up. Keep vaping. Talk to your friends about vaping. Talk to your parents about vaping, and make sure it's a positive situation for everyone.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. Paul, anything you got? You got anything else before you go? I know I'm going to give you a vamp opportunity. You got 3 minutes.
Not at the moment. I've just got to get ready for blood work and getting half my teeth ripped out tomorrow. So, yeah.
All right. Tim, you're good?
I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you again, Matthew, for joining us. Number 4.
Absolutely.
Number 4. You're catching up to Nick.
Got to get there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Tomorrow on In the Vapor, my show, I have Taylor Cage on from Safada. She's going to be joining me. Get to know Taylor a little bit. A little different type of show. It's 30 minutes, and it's just about your personalities, quirks, things you enjoy, things outside of vaping. So we just want everybody in the world to see that we all come from all different walks of life. So I hope to see some of you guys on the Thursday show tomorrow at 3 p.m. Same channel, same place. Peace out, everybody. Thank you again, Matthew. We'll get you back on so you can catch up to Nick to get you to number 5 soon. Peace out.
Tomorrow, Canadian.
Tomorrow, maybe.
Tomorrow, Canadian.